Man, I am still buzzing over last week's NXT special, NXT TakeOver 2 Fatal 4-Way, and the stupid thing about it is, it wasn't even the best NXT special yet out of the three. I still think TakeOver 1 was the best, Arrival was the second best, and this was probably the third best, really. It was just an overall fun show, and even though it wasn't the best out of the three, I still came out of it thinking that was a damn good show. And we also got a nice little video package at the start of the show just to show us exactly what happened and remind us exactly what happened at NXT TakeOver 2 Fatal 4-Way. Presented in typical WWE fashion, they generally do a very good job when it comes to presentation. It's what sets WWE out from other companies such as TNA and ROH and what makes them the #1 wrestling company in the world right now. Production values do go a very long way in this business sometimes. Instead of opening up with an obligatory NXT match, we actually had a promo segment open up this week's edition of NXT, which is something a little different and something I'm all for in NXT. Whenever there's a promo segment on the show, I'm all for it because it provides a little bit of variety on the show and something a little bit different, and allowing the people on NXT to actually try and practice and enhance their mic skills, which eventually when they get to the main roster is something they're going to have to do. And you know what they say sometimes? Practice makes perfect. Well, no, perfect practice makes perfect, actually. It was a little bit random, though, that we opened up with Titus O'Neil coming out of a microphone saying that it is an honor and a privilege to be in the presence of him, an actual WWE superstar, which I thought was kind of funny. I actually think Titus O'Neil was actually kind of funny in this promo segment, personally. Kind of surprised he doesn't get a bit more mic time on WWE TV. But there you go. We then have Sami Zayn coming out, standing up for NXT and what he believes in, etc., which is actually really stealing the show as opposed to Raw and SmackDown. Then we have Adrian Neville coming out saying that if anyone wants to, if anyone wants to come to NXT, he will stand up for NXT because he is the champion. Then Tyson Kidd comes out with a microphone, stirring the pot between Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville a little bit. Then out comes William, "This is a fighting, not a whining show" Regal to make a main event tag match announced for later. Of course, as we all know, Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville versus Titus O'Neil and Tyson Kidd. It was pretty obvious by the way the segment was going down. Generally, I would say, oh God, a segment where so-and-so comes out, and then he comes out, and then he comes out, and then he comes out. We see it day in, day out on Raw and SmackDown, which is why I just didn't really enjoy them on Raw and SmackDown. But on NXT, we don't really get to see this very often, so I'm very appreciative. Even though I thought the segment was a little bit overly convoluted, a little bit, unnecessarily convoluted in my opinion. But hey, at least we got some hype for a main event match later in the evening involving the NXT champion and someone from the WWE roster, so he says. When I saw that Charlotte was going to be in a match with Emma, I must admit my expectations were quite high. I look at the Charlotte character, which is one of the best female characters on NXT right now, and I remember how good the Emma character used to be and how much I used to be into the Emma character. Funny how a run on the main roster has kind of affected that a little bit. But I look at these two characters, I think top heel and, quite crowd-pleasing babyface, and I just thought that these two would have a pretty good match. And you know what? The match itself was just meh. I felt considering the characters in this match, I just thought I would be a little bit more into it. I thought the crowd would be a little bit more into it, and it just didn't come across all that well. Like I said, just came across as meh. And Charlotte gets the very obvious victory over Emma, whose character really has no steam on the WWE TV right now, so they may as well just bring her back to NXT, in my opinion. It seems like they do that with a lot of NXT guys. You look at guys like Adam Rose and other people such as that. Sin Cara is another great example of that. And, Charlotte, like I said, gets the win here. I do wonder who her next challenger is going to be. I imagine it will be Sasha Banks. And in that case, what are they going to do with Charlotte's character? She kind of teased a face turn on TakeOver. We'll be interested to see what exactly they're going to do with the Charlotte character going forward now. So this show was the big debut of the Japanese sensation Kenta, aka Hideo Itami. No doubt I'm going to pronounce that name wrong many times before I finally get it right. I understand the WWE are making a massive deal of this guy because of where he's from in Japan and what they can do with the marketing towards the Japanese and Asian cultures and countries, etc. I understand why WWE are making a big deal of this guy. If I was in Vince McMahon's or Triple H's or Stephanie McMahon's shoes, I'd probably be doing the same thing as well. I want my brand to be a cultural, worldwide brand. And what better way of doing it than, you know, presenting this Japanese superstar as a big star on WWE TV. And on this show, he had his introductory match against Justin Gabriel. And me, this is the first time I've ever seen Kenta in action, so I'm not just going to be one of those fanboys that is saying, oh, I remember Kenta, he had great matches in Japan, and oh, he had some great matches against Daniel Bryan, Tyler Black, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to be one of those guys that is going to be jizzing himself off at Kenta in his first match in WWE. I'd like to think that with this being the first time I've actually seen Kenta in the ring and how they presented his character, etc., I'd like to think that I can form a somewhat objective opinion on the guy. I'm sorry, guys, but please tell me that Hideo Itami is a little bit more than just kicks. Please tell me he does more than just kicks. You know, because if that's all he does, I'm not really going to be very interested in the character. It's just very one-dimensional in my opinion. I hope we get to see much more out of Hideo Itami, and I'm sure we will as time goes on, but I'm just saying, as an introduction, all I get about this guy is that he is your typical, like, ROH guy who does kicks. That's kind of the impression I got of him, and I may catch heat doing that, but hopefully Hideo Itami will prove me wrong as he develops more in NXT. I just couldn't really get into this match. I just couldn't. And I was quite glad, actually, when after the match, the Ascension came out and took him out, making amends for what happened at TakeOver 2 Fatal 4-Way. So it looks like Hideo Itami, a.k.a. Kenta, will be in a feud with the Ascension. And hopefully, with the Ascension now going over to the main roster, they'll do what they used to do in the old territory days and have the guy on the way out put over the new guy coming in. So that's hopefully how they will do this. But as on the whole, Hideo Itami, for his big debut match against Justin Gabriel, which was kind of random, really, I'll need to see more of him because, like I said, right now, I just think he's a one-dimensional wrestler. I've said many times in the past that variety is the spice of life, and on a wrestling show, I believe you need a lot of variety in order to make that show good, which is exactly what we got out of TakeOver, which is why that show, TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, came across so well. And in a show which is dominated by, let's face it, a lot of small guys, it's nice to see a bigger guy come along and create some variety in the product. And that is exactly what we get with Baron Corbin. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there probably don't really like Baron Corbin all that much, but that's fine and good. But, you know, this time we actually got to see Baron Corbin's entrance. He actually got a great reaction from the crowd, which is really good to hear. Whether or not that's because CJ Parker is unanimously hated amongst the NXT universe, I guess we will see in the future. But I've been quite impressed with Baron Corbin. I understand he's only been in, you know, sub 30-second minute matches with CJ Parker, and we haven't really seen too much of him, but he's a massive guy, and he just has that presence, and he just has that look about him that makes me think that, you know, with the right training and everything, maybe this guy actually looks like a guy that could be holding the NXT Championship. This actually looks like a guy that can be a top guy. Just the way he looks in the ring. And, you know, once again, we need people like Baron Corbin on the roster to give us some much needed variation. And as for this silent character that they've given him where he doesn't really talk and just goes about his business, well, it's something different, isn't it? Because not everyone needs to be able to fucking work a microphone. So at least that in itself is something different, which I can get into. So our main event match was Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn versus Titus O'Neil and Tyson Kidd. And really, this was all about Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn. You know, Titus O'Neil and Tyson Kidd really were just bit players in this segment. And I felt the match actually started off really interesting, where you had Zayn and Neville blind tagging each other, stealing each other's moves, and then trying to outdo each other with the moves that they're doing on the guy in the ring, which was mainly Tyson Kidd. And then Titus O'Neil came in and put a massive heat segment on the motherfucker, and the match kind of got a little bit boring, I must admit. You know, as much as I like Titus O'Neil and think he's funny, god damn, that heat segment really took my interest away from the match, I'm just saying. And the way the match finished as well, with Tyson Kidd getting the pin on Adrian Neville because he puts his knees up as Adrian Neville gets tossed off the top rope by Titus O'Neil. Thought that was really weak, especially as he's just come off that massive win at Fatal 4-Way, and then he loses because Tyson Kidd puts his knees up. You know, just a little bit weak in my opinion. So it looks like from what they've done on this show, sort of, mainly in the opening segment, and from what they've done on NXT TakeOver 2 Fatal 4-Way, it looks like they're doing a slow build to a big match between Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville down the line. Like I said, Titus O'Neil and Tyson Kidd were really just bit players here. And also, it was very telling during the match that Adrian Neville was getting a couple of boos. So it looks like if they are going to do the feud, it looks like Adrian Neville is going to be like the cocky champion. Looks like that's the way they're going to do it, and it looks like it maybe kind of works. You know, maybe we'll see how Adrian Neville, you know, gets a reaction in the future. But right now, he's getting a couple of boos, and Sami Zayn is inherently over with the WWE NXT universe, and it seems like everyone just wants to see him. Kind of like Daniel Bryan, you know, last year, or this year, I should say. Kind of seems like everyone wants to see Sami Zayn finally just fucking win that belt, which hopefully will happen at the next NXT special they do, which will be 2 or 3 months down the line. So, you know, NXT this week was a bit of a hit and miss, in my opinion. I thought the Hideo Itami, you know, considering how hyped up it was and how, you know, many people have had say to me, oh, this guy is really good in the ring, blah, 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 blah. I thought that was a tad disappointing. Emma and Charlotte was a tad disappointing as well, in my opinion. I liked how they had an opening promo segment, though. I thought that was quite good. Baron Corbin, just wow. I'm really looking forward to seeing a little bit more of him and seeing exactly what else he can do, because that finisher alone is worth watching the guy for right now, kind of like Adrian Neville's Red Arrow. And the main event, you know, started off nicely in my opinion, but just kind of cheated off towards the end. But I'm kind of looking forward to the end product for what comes between Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn. They really seem to save their best for those NXT TakeOver or NXT special shows. So I'm not expecting anything major from NXT right now. They could use Titus O'Neil as maybe a filler feud for Adrian Neville for the time being, or maybe stick Tyson Kidd in there again. I don't know. But I would like to see Titus O'Neil get a shot at the NXT Championship just because it would give Adrian Neville another obstacle to overcome. Kind of similar to when he faced Brodus Clay. Just something different as a small filler feud for him. Anyway, give me your thoughts on NXT TakeOver, and more importantly, give me your thoughts on Hideo Itami, as that is definitely going to be the title of this review. Thank you very much for watching if you have, and goodbye.